2012 Radnor Township Shade Tree Commission. We have 8 items on the agenda this evening. The first being 200 David Drive, Home Properties Broadlawn. If you could come up to the podium and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Bill Reardon with Bowler Engineering. I'm here tonight on behalf of Home Properties. Home Properties is planning to construct a 1,157 square foot fitness center centrally located in the Bryn Mawr apartment complex. On the plan, it's actually right here in the middle. So just opposite the kind of the larger little parking pull-off area on Charles Drive. In that location currently, there's actually a few parking spaces along the roadway. There's a large asphalt path, and there's 2 small trees that just replanted out front. And then on either side of it, there are some larger trees. One of them's 36 inches in size. It's an extremely high pine tree. It's pretty much on its last leg. It's been limbed up to probably about 50 or 60 feet in the air. But as part of this construction, we're actually looking to remove 3 trees, 2 of them being the new trees that were just planted. Hopefully we can save those and replant those. And then the last tree is the largest of them, the 36-inch tree. So our proposed landscaping plan which is sheet 6. We're actually proposing 3 new street trees, and in addition to that, actually the plan that I brought this evening is a further revision of the plan that you have. We had noticed that the calculation for the replacement didn't account for the total size of the 36-inch. So instead of it being 3 replacement trees, it's a total of 5 replacement trees. So 1 each for the 2 small trees and 3 for the larger tree. Two of the replacement trees are located out in front of the fitness center along Charles Drive, and then the balance of the 3 will be located to the rear of the fitness center along the asphalt path, which in actuality we're removing all of that existing asphalt and putting in just a smaller sidewalk to significantly reduce the amount of impervious coverage we're proposing on the property. That's it.
There's 2 concerns. You have 1 24-inch tree.
Correct, and that was what we have on this plan was from an older survey that was conducted for the property. We went out, and it's not reflecting on here, but went out and did a site visit, and actually that tree was removed under a prior tree kind of upgrade process that they went through in the center, and they've actually have replaced that tree with 2 smaller trees just put in very recently. Okay. So those 2 small trees, they're probably maybe 3 inches in caliber, if that.
Right there?
I'm sorry?
They're right in that spot?
Correct. Yeah, they're right in the right along the edge of the parking spaces that are right off of Charles Drive.
Okay. Tree protection, is that really?
Yes, we have on the landscaping plan. It actually shows up on the E&S plans as well.
That's 6.
On sheet 6, we have tree protection fencing. We have it surrounding. There's a larger 24-inch pine tree just to the north. There's some trees to the south, and then all of the trees that head west along that asphalt drive. There's tree protection fence along that entire path, so that during construction that those will be preserved.
I have 1 question. What we encounter all the time on the construction sites is
I understand that on the plans, the tree as it's denoted is just a symbol. It doesn't really reflect what's there. And what we get on the construction sites often is tree fence protection that is within the drip line of the tree. So although it's installed, if work takes place, it still takes place within the drip line. Do any of these trees actually go out? I mean, I know you're going to be working on the walkway. Is anything close to that? It's a little hard to tell from here. Like I say, I know it's just a stamp, it's just an icon.
Right. If you go out there, all the pine trees that run along that pathway, they're actually, while the canopy does extend over top of the asphalt, they've been limbed up probably a good 20, 30 feet. So if you were to put tree protection fencing down along the drip line, you obviously you'd be into that area, but because they've been limbed up so high that we don't see it as necessarily as an issue to be able to put the tree protection fencing along the edge of the asphalt to preserve the trunk, and then the tree itself would be okay because there isn't any type of vegetation that's low and hanging over the edge of the asphalt path.
You dropped the plumb bob from the branch as it came out from the tree.
Right.
And
I don't know where
it hits the dirt is what we don't want any root compaction. So
Right.
what I would request is that the tree protection fence be brought out as far as possible.
Okay.
To still allow you to do the work on the pathway, but to stop the parking of equipment and compaction on any of those roots
Okay.
within there.
No problem.
Yeah, that was the question I had. They might be limbed up, but those root systems are still beyond their drip line if they're that old of a tree. Okay, so in essence, you're taking three trees down and putting 5 back in. Is that what I heard you say?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is this the water
The
retention?
stormwater retention.
How far is that away from that, the trunk of that 30-inch pine there?
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Based on the scale, probably 15, 20 feet.
Can you get it closer to that pathway or under the pathway or closer to that building?
Yeah, we can move it.
How about on the other side too?
For both of them? Yeah, we can move those closer to the pathway.
That way you won't be impacting
Mhm.
severely the root system of those two big trees. That's going to be your access road is going to be indicated where that pathway is?
It's all just foot traffic. There's no vehicle access to it. But there is a main access in the front, concrete sidewalk, and then what we're doing is because we're removing the pathway in the middle, we're connecting it with 2 sidewalks that go around each side of the building and connects into the middle. And it's all just for pedestrian walking. There's no vehicles that will access it.
So you could actually get your tree protection fence right up to that pathway then?
I'm sorry, where are you?
The long pathway that
This long pathway?
yeah, you could put your tree protection right against that pathway then, if you're not going to be bringing any equipment up there?
Well, there will be some minor equipment to do the construction that we have, so we can only push it as close as where the existing pathway
Well, that's what I'm
is
asking.
now.
This
Yes.
is going to be your in and out of your concrete and your excavators and all that, or are you going to come off of Charles Drive for all that?
We haven't really looked at which is going to go first, the fitness center or the sidewalk, so I would assume that if we do the sidewalk, we'll come off of Charles first. So if the fitness center is being built, then we'll come from the other side. So we can push the tree protection fence in to address. I think that addresses the same issue that
Well,
Steve had.
if you limited your access just to one side from Charles,
Okay.
you wouldn't compact all the roots of all these trees that are along the path.
Okay.
So you could bring all of your tree protection fence right to the path and limit that access just for walking only, rather than bring heavy equipment up and down that what is now a footpath, which would be like a 10-foot roadway.
There's actually cars on it. I was there just now. There was a Ford Explorer parked on it. So actually there are vehicles on it now, which is part of the reason why we're removing it. But
narrow so vehicles can't get there in the future?
Exactly.
So it's actually a driveway now.
It's not a driveway. It's not intended to be a driveway, but people use it as a driveway.
These are proposed.
That's why we're taking it down.
Yeah, I think that's that much more reason that you access it from the Charles Drive side.
Okay.
Because it really doesn't matter whether it's a roadway, it's a path. If that were intended to be the main entrance to the construction site, it's going to impact the existing trees.
So we could just say that that path will just be limited to foot traffic then? Rather than equipment access?
Yes.
Okay.
But there will be equipment there to physically construct it. I mean, you're going to have some type of equipment there to literally get to build the path, but once the path is done, there's no, correct.
For the fitness center.
Correct. Correct.
Now, do you have to tear up what's there?
I'm sorry?
You have to tear up what's there, or is
Yes.
it grass?
It's old asphalt. It's about 12 feet wide. So that's going to have to be dug up, taken out, new concrete, new stone concrete, and then topsoil spread on either side of it.
Is it going to be 12 feet wide still, or is it going to be narrower?
It's just going to be a standard 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk now.
So it'll be less of an encouragement for vehicles to drive on it.
I'm sorry?
It'll be less likely that cars will drive on it,
That's what we're hoping, yes.
unless they're motorcycles. But
Yeah.
how long? I mean, what's showing up on the thing there? It goes further to the left. Is that? It goes all the way to David Drive.
From David to Charles.
And you're just going to tear that whole thing up?
Yep.
Put a new sidewalk in?
You got it.
Just to be clear, the path that we're looking at on your plan right now, you're saying that that's 12 foot wide now? But just,
So here's the existing plan.
okay.
The limit of disturbance, this line right here, that's the full width of the existing path. So that is at least 12, maybe 15 feet wide.
It's a lot wider than it's going to be.
okay.
Right. So what we're doing is we're going in, we're taking that out. And you can see from the tree protection fence, we kind of have it pretty close to where that edge of that existing path is now. We'll move it up as far as we can. We're going to have vehicles in there for a short period of time to remove all of that and then build new sidewalk, which is what's shown on the landscaping plan, which is significantly smaller in width.
Okay, in removing that blacktop, I mean, traditionally, we say before that begins, you should fertilize the trees that are going to be impacted along that driveway, because you're going to be pulling up an existing paved surface.
Right.
And there are root systems underneath that paved surface. So when you pull it up, you have to pull it up very carefully
Okay.
and then fertilize those trees that could be impacted by that. Are you in concurrence with that?
Well, yeah, they could do a lot more damage pulling this pathway out than anything, because you're going to be digging all the subbase of that, all the gravel out, so that you can put your new sidewalk in.
Right.
And they're going to encounter a lot of roots from all those trees.
Right.
So they have to be pretty careful when they start to dig. The backhoe hooks the roots and it rips them out. So at that point, the roots should be cut rather than ripped out.
Okay.
And prior to that, the trees should be on some kind of fertilization program to help prepare them for the impact that's going to be incurred when all this digging starts.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yep.
We could require a note on the plans stating exactly as you laid it out, extreme care in removing the asphalt, deep root fertilization prior to start of the project. All roots must be pruned
Not cut.
upon excavation.
Yep.
And once that sidewalk is removed, the tree protection will be moved back out to the limits of the new sidewalk. So there's no parking of any equipment or stockpiling of any material on that area.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Do you, are you going to take all the gravel and so forth that's underneath there out? Or are you just going to just put the new stuff on top of, once you take up the asphalt? It depends on what's under there.
I don't know what the condition of the subbase is, but more than likely we'll be removing all of it so that we can put in a nice,
Fresh.
clean subbase. So the answer is probably yes.
Okay, we're all in concurrence. All right,
Great.
you're a go as long as you meet those conditional
Okay.
issues, okay?
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item is 486 St. David's Avenue.
Good evening. The Boltons that live at Dean Deal from Shriner Tree Care, sorry. The
Yep.
Boltons at 486.
Please identify yourself.
Dean Deal.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Shriner.
Go ahead.
We've been taking care of this sugar maple since 2008. And when I set the photos, you'll see that the center has been fading faster than we can keep up with it. It's cabled at 2 spots, and a cable doesn't make an unsafe tree safe again. So there's what it looks like from a close-up. Over here is back about 50 feet from their driveway. It's a 47-inch sugar maple. To add to it, this is a resistograph from last year. The lines at the top indicate that the side towards the house and their driveway are intact. The front that aims out to the street is weak wood throughout. There's virtually no roots from the tree to the street. They have also about 19 trees now on a lot that's less than an acre. They have a red oak there that they'd like to use as a replacement, a 2.5 inch, but it will not meet your standards for this. But they're hoping they'll have some kind of leniency because the lot's fully loaded with trees now. Not loaded, but more than you can squeeze another nice shade tree in.
Okay, no, I don't, I mean, you can just look at the pictures and you know it's over. The only question I ask is, would they be willing to plant something larger than a 2.5 inch caliber?
I can't speak for them, so you'd have to direct that to them.
Or can I
I
direct
can
it
tell
to
you-
you and ask?
Pardon?
I said, can I direct that to you and ask you to ask them?
I will. They couldn't do it this year, though. If you can put that off till next year, they could do it in this year. This year they can't do it. I'm not going to tell you why. It's just, but they're not opposed to planting a tree there bigger than I mentioned, but it won't be this year.
When would you anticipate they could plant it? Next year, you're saying?
Yes,
Like next spring?
spring.
I think that would be a reasonable compromise.
What will you suggest?
3 to 4 inch caliber.
Okay.
And a tree that comes off of our recommended list.
Yes.
Okay, so then you also have 219 Orchard Way, correct?
Yes, 219 Orchard is a Norway maple that has a decayed trunk, and where I made a mark, this is about 15 feet up from the base, the tree goes up at the, say, 15-foot mark and then Y's out over the street and then towards the home. This is another cavity, 19 feet up, that leans towards the home side, and through the middle run all the utility lines, cable and Pico lines. So they'd like to remove this, and and today, even when I went by there just to take a look at it again, there's a 20-foot limb that's come down already with leaves on it. This thing's been breaking apart for a while. That's hanging in the wires now. So as soon as we can remove that, we'd like to.
Okay, I'll defer to our professional arborist.
Dean, looks like the maple's got some issues up top here with this cavity on that leader limb.
It does.
It's pretty significant.
Yes, they are.
It's more than 50%.
Yes, and a lot of it's hidden by the vines that are up there.
Yeah. And the ivy's kind of obscuring our view a little bit here. Doesn't look too good.
It's
On
as
it-
best a shot as I could get, but that's heavily decayed on the house side. And then at the trunk, it's splitting at two spots. On the shot from the you can see the 219 clearly, and then from the other angle,
Yeah.
about 70 degrees, you can pass something through one side of the trunk and out the other.
It's like been pruned out by the electric company in the middle here. It's
Over the years,
Yeah.
yes.
It doesn't look too good. It's a hazard, Howard. I
And it's a
recommend it for
Norway
removal.
maple, not that but it's
Yeah,
a stinker.
It's time to go.
Yes, they will. Yes.
A 3 to 4 inch
Yes.
count. Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Good evening. Thank you.
Okay, next, excuse me, is 275 Hothrop Lane, removal of a tennis court.
Kevin Manley, Manley Building Organization. We're good there. Client would like to remove the tennis court that's on the property now. And in this area here, there's two areas that hold water. So when they're removing the tennis court, they were looking to put in a French drain to run around the outside of this tree and go into a seepage pit.
Okay, excuse me, the method and the depth with which you feel you might have to go to remove that tennis court?
It's a hard true court that has the piping system under it. So it's probably around 6 inches, might be less than that. Yeah, it's clay,
Clay
and,
system.
and the pipes, yeah.
Okay.
When you look through, there's boxes on the side of the court. When you look down, the pipes aren't that deep.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to access from the driveway there?
Yeah, what I figured is that we would put the silt fence, or not, the silt fence is down here, but tree protection around this limit of disturbance here, and then I would access it from right off of the driveway here. The plantings on these corners will remain the same in the grading, so the water coming off of here will be directed around, and like I said, past this tree and into the drain. And everything can be accessed, that, you know, we won't have to take any equipment outside. And then around this tree, the roots are exposed now, so we're going to put, it says dirt here, but we were going to put mulch in there. So they had an arborist come out and thought that the mulch was the best thing to put around the roots.
Where are you going to have to, you're just going to have the construction equipment on the rectangle where the court is itself?
Correct.
So you're not going to run anything down near the roots of that tree? The one you just talked about?
No, for the French drain, we will have to come through here.
That's going to be an underground drain?
It's going to be an underground drain.
So that's going to come along the right-hand side of those roots there, because it's possible to move it out?
Correct. There's room to stay outside of the drip line.
The, yeah, 36-inch oak, you're working,
Did you say oak?
yeah.
The maple we're talking about, right?
That one right
I'm
there?
talking about the oak. He was talking, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're going to encounter that root system.
Now you're talking, not where the maple is where the French drain's going to pass.
Okay. Now,
Is
on
that
the
the
new
one?
town road side,
Correct.
you have a 36-inch maple that is currently overhanging the court that you're about to remove.
Correct.
And when you do that, you're going to be very much into its root system.
I'm sorry, you're not finished.
So it's similar to the last, or not the last, but the first presentation in which you have to take significant care of that root system. You're not going to just bring a backhoe in and.
That is similar situation over on 225 Upper Gulf, right by King of Prussia Road and Upper Gulf, where the old carriage house was.
Yep.
Took the driveway through there, and we root pruned that on that big beech tree, and everything there seems to be fine. And the homeowner is crazy about their trees on the property. Like I said, they had a couple people out in the consulting arborist, so I know they're going to want to do everything too.
Okay.
Now, that's an oak tree down there? This is the one that's like, right here, right?
Yeah.
Dead center from the middle of the tree.
Yep.
That one right there.
Yep.
The roots extend underneath the tennis courts. Are they shallow roots? I don't know.
Now,
Pretty deep.
oaks are deep, but they still have feeder roots. I mean, all trees have feeder roots.
Would
And
it be,
that's-
this is only 6 inches or 7 inches deep?
Yeah, roughly, I think about 6. I didn't measure the exact.
But you're going to use mechanized equipment to take most of it up, take it up, right? Yeah,
Correct.
Is it possible you could use hand shovels or something right around those roots so that you don't go down?
Yeah, and the care will definitely be taken through there. And like I said, the same thing that we did over at, Upper Gulf. It'll come out as much as we could take out by hand around those roots. We would take out by hand. And I think a lot of it will be fairly easy because it's not. If it was an asphalt court, it would be different. It's clay court and the pipe system. So I think that would be a good possibility.
And what's going to go back in the place of that court?
Lawn. Pardon? No,
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
You know what? There are a lot of maintenance and people haven't.
Yep.
It's a new owner and it hasn't been played on in years. Yeah. Okay.
Steve?
Yes, may I address the applicant? Just a couple of questions. The last plan sheet in the plan set, this work has already been completed, yes?
When you say the last, are you on the Wager one that we did for submission?
Yeah, is that just all part of,
That was for the whole property. That was,
Okay, and that works for-
Yeah, so that work's all been done.
so that the proposed garage is in?
That's complete.
Okay. Would you be able to show on the plans? To me, it looks like your only access to the court is going to be like basically where you have the 95 contour proposed, in between the shrubs, so to speak?
Correct.
But those shrubs are going to be removed, correct? on each corner?
Those shrubs, I think I can get around the other side here too, the other side of the shrubs. I mean, that would be my goal if I can. And we were going to leave the shrubs towards Newtown have to go. Those shrubs could stay.
My only request, if the Shade Tree Commission finds it acceptable, is to have the applicant show the actual access route
Okay.
for the equipment so that there's no guessing as to where they're going, and we stay as far away. I know you have to do work under the 30-inch maple, but for all the trucks that are going to be going in and out with the court surface, then bringing in topsoil, you're probably going to need a tire cleaner anyway. And then I guess one of the members had brought up that the French drain is, I don't know if that could be swung out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's going out.
Go past there.
And perhaps the similar note as we asked the first applicant for the, repeat that, the root feeding, pruning of the roots, extra care and removal of the hard true court, and even in the installation of the topsoil, so we're still not compacting, depending on what, you have to be very careful about what machinery you use to bring the topsoil in.
You say the garage is already,
That was completed.
That's completed.
A few years ago. Yeah.
and did
Not
that,
even more than that. Probably 2007 or 8. Yeah.
was all that brought before us?
Yeah.
Okay. And the 30-inch oak that's overhanging the garage is doing okay?
It's doing fine. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Good.
Just a quick question on the page you have there with the silt fence. How do you put the silt fence in the ground? I mean, how deep do you go?
And you're talking out here around.
I'm just talking about the whole, just in general. You put silt fence in, you go
Yeah,
down.
I mean, typically, where you can,
gotta-
probably curl it under about 6 inches and put the dirt over top of it
So, I mean, I've seen them do it with a ditch witch. That's a old fast way to do it. You ever seen it done like that before?
on large,
Yeah,
amount of silt fence.
right. How are you going
Is
to do
that
that?
would-
How are you
Well,
going
I
to do
think
this?
this will be done by hand. I mean,
Okay.
it's-
I'm just
Do
saying
you
is that,
like it better? You're saying with
well,
the
you're
ditch
coming
witch?
around one way with the pipe to the French drain, and you're going to be cutting the other way with this silt fence on the other side. So you're definitely going to encounter a lot of roots of that maple tree when you put the silt fence in, if you're going to have it that close to the trunk of the tree.
Well, I think the French drain is going to be out further than the roots, because I'll put tree protection around that maple at the canopy,
Yep.
the drip line.
I'm just wondering if you can kick that silt fence away from underneath the drip line of that, too. The dark line I'm looking at is the silt fence, right? The dash line, I mean?
The dash line is the French drain.
No, the dark one.
One right by your finger, your left finger. Right hand.
You're touching it.
Right.
That, if you follow,
Is a silt fence.
your left hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is, the silt
But it
fence.
comes up near the trunk of that tree. You come up between the French drain that just comes to the edge,
Correct, where it curves around there.
but the other side of the tree. Comes way under it. He's asking, can you move that side?
Yeah, that could be moved outside of it.
Could you point to it there where we're talking about?
Well, you're saying the silt fence comes around and comes out. Is that what you're talking about or not?
No, it does
So I'm
not.
talking further, put your finger on the dash line.
There's many dash lines, limited disturbances.
Oh, is the dark dash line the silt fence, or is that the limit of disturbance?
Limited disturbance, it's called out right here. Oh, okay, it's limited disturbance, that's why,
I thought the other arrow on the other side is saying silt fence is pointing to that dash line, so I'm
no,
sorry.
it's the little circles with the straight line that
Oh,
comes
I
around.
apologize.
Yeah, see up in the top right-hand corner, it's called, circle and straight.
Are we allowed to run stormwater drainage into the setback area? Sorry.
That's a good question, Mr. Chairman, and I didn't bring my book tonight.
Okay,
I'll have to get back to you ASAP on that.
okay. No, I think,
I believe they are allowed to do that.
I would think.
Yeah, so that would be okay, just as long as he reflects on a revised plan everything that the commission has. My big concern is if somebody goes out there, you know that you're going to be moving this stuff to where the commission wants it, but we just definitely have to have the plan reflect everything that was discussed.
But the silt fence, the silt fence is where.
No, I'm talking about the French drain,
Correct.
the notes on the plan, all that.
Yeah, what I'm suggesting is if you can move that, the feed line into your retention system, you move it further, to 2 o'clock, if you want to call it that. And if you did that, you'd be in your setback line. And I simply ask the question whether that's permitted according to code. If it is, I would recommend you move it as far as you can to get away from the maple.
Would agree.
Do you know what kind of maple it is?
I don't.
I was going to say it was an Norway maple. I really wouldn't. Okay. So you're going to remove the existing clay court, take care of 34-inch oak in the process by proper root pruning and fertilization. We're going to try to get, a permission, if you want to call it that, to move your feed line into your stormwater retention system as far to the east as possible. Any other issues from anyone? Oh, another thought I had, the fill that you, or whatever you put back in, you're going to take a clay court out,
Correct.
which probably is relatively pervious, and make certain that whatever topsoil you put back in is of good quality that will, permeate well. You don't want.
Agreed. I think it's not going to be, it'll just be raked and it won't be rolled or anything. The clay court is really tight, so I think it's going to drain much better
Okay.
after, the topsoil is put in.
Yeah. No, I just want to make
If you
sure
have
that
topsoil,
we're
you'll have grass,
right.
for the water and.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not putting, subsoil fill back in. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not.
You also would use the construction equipment rooting. That's what he has.
Right. Yeah, to clearly identify how your construction equipment is going to access this. Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
1300 Eagle Road.
Karen McManuels from Associated Engineering Consultants. We were here last month, and one of the things you had requested was an overlay plan. So on C1.1A, what that shows is it shows the existing trees to be removed, the existing house that's on the property right now, the existing road that comes up right now, and there's a small parking lot right there, and it continues on. The shaded area is the new proposed driveway and new entrance off of Eagle Road. The solid darker lines are the new proposed grade lines. Existing grades are shown hatch or dashed line.
Did our removals stay the same, or did they change?
No, they stayed the same. We're removing the same and we're planting the same.
Okay, down near where it says the frame shed.
Are you done?
Yep.
Are you referring down here? Mm-hmm.
You have a 30-inch tree.
Correct.
It looks like it overhangs that frame shed.
Correct. Those are really small storage sheds.
Right. And you're about 25 feet from the proposed driveway to the trunk of that tree. Is there any possibility you can put a wiggle in that and get it further around the tree?
Yeah, I mean, we could pull that away just a little bit here. On this side of the tree, we're not really changing any grades on the east side of that shed. But it looks like we could pull the road over slightly to pull it away from there, sure.
Yeah, I'd recommend it if you could, get 10 feet off, additional feet, that would make a significant difference. Do you know what kind of tree that is?
No, I don't have that on the plan here.
Okay.
I'd have to.
If you could
take a
identify
look at
that for us as well, I appreciate it.
I think next to it's a sidewalk or a pedestrian walk, is that right?
I'm sorry.
The little tiny one's a pedestrian walk?
Yeah, that's a pedestrian walk.
The driveway, when it reaches Eagle Road, you're having to make that cut down pretty far on the one side, right? He's going to drop off pretty much to the driveway.
The road here?
Yeah, further up. But I mean, you have to, where it runs into Eagle Road.
Where it runs into Eagle
Yeah.
Road, yeah. I
It's
mean,
big depression.
we're cutting into that. There's kind of like a knoll, there's a high point up here, and we cut that down at 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then we're sloping down, and These are 1-foot contours that are shown on the plan, so it's not that steep. I mean, we're cutting it down and, banking it back up on either side. So the road, we're trying to flatten the road out as much as we can.
Okay. Makes sense. I just don't see as much of a contour on the east side as I do on the west side, but I guess it's just I'm not paying attention.
Right, because the high point is over here. It all slopes this way to begin with, so if we're cutting it down, that ends up being steeper on that side. Mm-hmm.
Now, at the bottom, below the bottom of the sheet, it just curls around and ties into the existing paving for the parking lot, right?
Yes,
Here you go.
the land development side, we're removing this portion of the existing parking lot, continuing the buffer and bringing the driveway into the parking lot.
You don't have to take any trees out, right? Because parking lot's already there.
Correct. I think there's 2 small trees on the bottom here that we are removing because of the underground storage.
It's all right. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, it's actually on that sheet there. Okay.
I just was wondering. I live like a block away.
Okay.
Total number of trees you're taking out
39,
and you're putting back?
53.
Are they all going to be in that area, or are they going to spread elsewhere on it?
The
Or is that what these ones along the Eagle River?
Yeah. The new landscaping plan is shown on C24. And like I said, that we're going to continue the buffer up along Radnor Road. We're adding a buffer on the north side of the parking lot, and we're adding the trees along the road, and we're grouping some trees around the houses to help shield the cars or any headlights. We'll have to adjust those trees right there. Yeah, I'll have to.
Mr. Chairman? I have a question / comment, if I may. Just looking at I know there's some good grade variations as far as 4 feet. And in general, I'm looking at the trees that are coming out, and although the applicant's trying to meet the ordinance requirement with the replacement, I mean, they're losing 30-inch trees, 20-inch trees. I mean, these are sizable trees that are all going, and the replacement trees are 2.5 to 3-inch caliper in some cases. And I guess I have 2 questions. I'm looking at where the replacement trees are going, and I know it's it's just the drawing, but it looks like they're actually on the slope of the finished contours. And my next request would be, would it be possible, would the applicant be willing to look at installing a larger caliper tree? I know you're meeting what you have to meet, but such mature trees are coming down, great canopy, hard to replace, to maybe jumpstart that process a little bit with, I don't know, I'll say 4-inch caliper trees in replacement.
Yeah, one thing that we've just discussed is, hedge maples are not going to replace the caliper of those trees. And maybe we need to look at, first of all, in doing away with the small canopy sorts of stuff. I mean, you've heard us say this over and over. We prefer the large canopy with a sprinkling of your ornamentals. And then whether or not you'd be willing to up the caliper.
Well, Carl's here. I will point out that they've done a lot of planning on this campus here prior to this, and they've added all this buffer on the south side, and they're coming up the east that we're not getting credit for or even counting into the count that we're replacing trees. So they've done a lot of buffering on this property already. I mean, I think, in my opinion, and Carl could say, if it's a species change and prefer the larger trees, I think we would prefer to make a different species as opposed to upping the caliber of the tree.
Well, my response would be, I mean, we're taking what is a heavily wooded area with beautiful shade. I'm not commenting on the condition of the trees, but with sizable shade trees. And congratulate the university for adding the buffer. That's great, but that still does. The look of this whole area is now changed. It's no longer going to look like it once was. We understand you need the access drive. So, along with the additional buffer and the plantings that the university has done on site, I think it would be a good gesture to up that caliper to try to get back and follow the commission's request on the larger canopy trees, because it'll provide you with that nice alley effect, so you get a little aesthetic help, but maybe in some small way it addresses the fact that what was once, for lack of a better term, woods is no more.
Are these like pine trees and stuff? Is that what I
What, that are coming out or we're putting back?
putting back?
No.
Are they like? I mean, what are the trees that are along Walnut Avenue down there that turns into Shimoni?
Most of the trees that are on the property are oak trees.
Is that what those are? Those newly planted ones?
We're putting in a mixture of trees. We're putting in some maples, honey locusts, decorative crepe myrtles, and then we're putting in some evergreens, the fir, American holly, spruce, and some arborvitae.
How tall do all those pine trees and so forth grow? Do they, if they're evergreen trees, then they're sort of shaped like this as opposed to like canopy kind of stuff, right?
Right. Well, the evergreens, we're looking more for the buffer. I mean, right now they're 6 to 8 feet tall.
And that's
what
the
we're
stuff
calling
along the end of
for.
the park.
And that's the buffering mostly along the west side of the campus and along the street. The ones that are coming down the road are the maples, and that will
They'll get to
grow
be real
taller.
tall.
Mm-hmm.
Not speaking as an arborist, okay, but as a community resident who drives through this area every day, 7 days a week, it looks very institutional, the new trees that have been going in there, okay? And I have to agree with what Steve's saying. We're taking out all this natural growth in the upper end of the drawing and replacing it down here. And what I see so far that is completed, and I just say it tongue-in-cheek, it almost looks like a Christmas tree farm, what I see down there, okay, and ride by there each day. And that is a non-arborist speaking, but as a community person, I'm riding through there and looking at it, and it looks like you took a tape measure out and measured where you were planting the trees that were going in. So I know it's for buffering, I guess, the parking lot that you're hoping for, that look down the road, I guess, in a number of years, but I would hope that when you're taking out all of this natural growth that Steve mentioned, like a wooded area, that we get something a little nicer than what I'm seeing right now in the immediate future. But again, I'm not an arborist.
Well, right. I mean, these are the maples. If we can, again, if you prefer a different species, I mean, we can identify different species. As far as the caliber, if 3 to 4 inches would be acceptable, I think we would be willing to adjust, the larger trees down along here to the larger caliber.
Along the new road entrance.
Along the new road, where we're taking the big ones out.
Because that's where the biggest impact of the trees are. So if we replace those in this area with a higher caliber, would that be a reasonable?
If okay with the commission, I mean, I would even request larger caliper and the species that the commission requests, so change the type of tree as well as increase the caliper to get the canopy. I mean, I'm not an arborist either, but I'm just looking down the list. Trident maple, hedge maple, sugar maple, and yet we're taking down 23-inch oak, 20-inch oak, 20-inch oak, 30-inch oak. I mean, all these huge oak trees, these mighty oaks are going down. I have nothing against maples, mind you, but, you know.
Well, right, besides the buffering on the south side of the property, they started filling in the open area on the south side. There's different species of oaks that have been planted down there. There's a couple of red dawns that have been planted down there. I know the university intent is to gradually fill this in more down here and make this more of a wooded area down here over time.
And those trees will grow like 50 feet tall or whatever.
These are much larger trees.
Yeah, of course I won't be living here, but I'll be long retired or gone Florida or something. But in 20 years they'll be tall.
Yes.
Down along here. Do the small, if they have just like the continuation of these pine trees down here by the end of the parking lot for buffer?
No, I prefer that they go over to more of the deciduous large canopies. I mean, trident maple is an interesting tree, but it's not a large canopy. Hedge maple is actually not a favorable species. Yeah, I would replace, you've got magnolia, the saucer magnolia, which is not much more than a bush. Yeah, I would take all that up to your large canopy trees.
Well, yeah, the magnolias were to be more of a decorative tree for by the residential.
Yeah.
If you have a preference of a species,
You're taking down a lot of oaks?
put back oaks.
Okay. I'd go back with the whites. Anything in the white oak family? Yeah, the black and red oak is still suffering from that bacterial leaf scorch in the area, and maybe it'll go away and maybe it won't. So far, it hasn't hit the white oak family.
Okay.
Sorry for all the technical stuff.
That's all right. Is the 3 to 4 inch caliber acceptable?
It's acceptable with us.
How do we want to recap this?
Okay, so we're going to do a little wiggle around the shed.
Yes, we're going to shift this over a little bit. We'll
Is-
adjust the trees on the east side there.
Okay.
And then we'll replace the trees that are coming down the drive with larger canopy trees, a type of oak. And
Okay.
3 to 4 inch calibers will call for all the trees.
All righty. Thank you.
you.
And you've got the next one as well,
The
right?
next one as well, right? This one, this one here. Okay, this is also for Eastern University. This project referred to as the Loop Road. The plan here shows the overall campus plan. The project we're referring to as the Loop Road is a new road to be constructed somewhat in the middle of the campus here to connect the gym parking lot to the main circulation through campus so we can close off the entrance off of Fenimore and make that an emergency entrance only into that parking lot. This way, all the circulation, the entrance going out on Fairview right now is an emergency entry now. So there's no exit there. So we're closing off this one and installing the road through here. This was something that was brought up when we were doing the student center. If you remember the student center, this was requested for the loop road. A little history, it's been submitted to DEP, it's been submitted to the county. So everything is under review right now. So the next sheet, C11, is an enlarged plan of that area. The existing gym building, gym parking lot, and the pool, the existing pond, the other pond. So the Gulf Creek right now bypasses this pond, so the main creek is flowing to the right side of the page. And there's some water that's filtered off the stream coming into the pond that comes through this end of the pond and feeds this lower pond. So there's a small, this isn't really a stream per se, but it's a channel of water that we have to cross. So the main road, or the campus, is to the lower portion of the page. So we're coming off that road with a new road through here and then putting 2 bridges and coming over and connecting that. So with that, we have to remove a number of trees for this project also. Number of trees to be removed is 29. And we're looking, according to the current code, required to replace is 50. I have a landscaping plan I'll show you, but before I move on, if you have any questions so far. C21 shows the new layout.
It's all wetland there? It's all? No.
There's no wetlands.
No.
We've had it delineated. We have a JD from the Army Corps. So there's no wetlands in this area. It's in the 100-year flood, but there's no wetlands. So you see on C21, the new bridge that'll go in across Gulf Creek, and then a smaller culvert bridge between the 2 lower ponds. There's an existing pedestrian path that will remain in place to the left side of the road. We're trying. We shifted the road over such because we did want to keep that path, and we did want to keep that line of trees as much. We know we're taking out a lot of trees, so we are trying to keep that. There's an existing volleyball court that's on that area right now, so we're going more through the volleyball court. And there is a bit of the curve in there in order to allow for the buses to be able to make the turns and get over to the gym.
matter of my interest, is the existing road at elevation substantially higher than where the bridge is going to cross the spillway, if you will, from where the water wheel used to be?
The road down here?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're matching existing grade elevation here with the road, and it's roughly 314, and we slope up a little bit. It's roughly a 3% slope, so it does come up 2 feet to the other side of the stream. So grade is raised here a little bit to help flatten out the road through here.
But not huge.
Not huge amount. Plus, we wanted to get the box up over the stream and not prohibit any of the flow through there. So that was the other thing that brought it up about 2 feet.
All right. Because just with all the contour lines, it seems like.
Well, again, these contour lines are 1 foot contours.
Yeah. So
We typically usually show 2 foot, but with this and the detail, we kept them at 1 foot contours.
So it looks steeper than it really is.
Well, this is a 3% through here, and this is, so it may look steeper than what it is, but with a 1%. This is a 3%. We show it there, 3%, and this is a 3.7%. And then, it flattens out pretty much here. The bridge will slope, I believe it's 2% over the creek.
Now, the pedestrian walk, that's similar kind of steepness or slope?
On this side, it's along the pond here, so this is fairly flat coming through here on that side with the walk. This is around the pond here. It pretty much maintains an even elevation right there.
But there's one that comes across the road there, right?
Well, when it comes across the road, this coming down is, we don't have a percentage on here, but this isn't more than 5% that comes down the walkway.
Okay. I'm thinking of people in wheelchairs,
Right,
because I do that in my regular job. So.
right. If this is 3%, that walk, we did keep to 5%.
How many trees over 36 inch are coming down?
Over 36? Over 36 is 5.
You don't have, I can kind of see them here. I got a couple elms and an ash. You don't have the species.
Yeah, all the species are on here. There's elms and there's ash and there's oaks. There's a couple of maples in there. There's black gum, a couple more oaks, a couple of firs. In the gym over there, there's a couple of sweet gums. This one really is a more mix. It's not predominantly the oaks like over there, so this was pretty much an even mix of them.
And we were just trying to strategize. That's a lot of, elms that size are very unusual. We were trying to strategize whether you could flip-flop something or take that driveway and move it further to the right, to the east. But it looks like no matter what you do there, if you swung it from the pool area further to the right and tried to avoid that huge clump of mature trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but I don't.
I think that's we kind of looked at this in depth, and not to say that it can't be tweaked, because anything can be tweaked. But
right.
If we start shifting it, we start getting really tight here behind the bridge, and there's 2 really large trees here that we were trying not to have to take down. One's a 48-inch ash, and the other one's a 42 tulip. So if we start shifting this bridge in any way, we'll lose those 2. So it's I mean, it's like sacrificing one for another one.
You don't have this in overlay, do you?
No, we do not have an overlay on this one.
How close is that big?
Actually, you know, somewhat of an overlay, if you look at C13, it's our ENS plan. It shows the new road, and it shows the trees, but it doesn't actually show the trees that are coming down. And I guess that's what you're looking for. That's really the same as the site development plan.
Where's that big elm fall in that apron area? Closer to that walkway path there?
The existing elm?
Yeah, there's a 36-inch elm there.
Yeah, we're trying desperately to keep that, but it is in the path, and it is in the swing of any traffic or bus that would be going on the bridge. So I can mark it on the plan where it is. Right now. It sits roughly where I've marked it on the plan here. This is an existing 323. That's the existing 323. The elm is there, so it's sitting right here, and the canopy is really going to be that around the.
What's the condition of that tree?
I think it's okay. I mean, it is a beautiful tree. I'm not going to deny it's not a beautiful tree. However, to be able to make that swing and get to that bridge, we can try to save it, and we can say, hey, we'll go around it, but I really think you'll end up destroying the tree as much as we try to save it. And even if we can push and pull, we can't push and pull the sidewalk and the bridge enough to be out of the tree.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry? Yes, I believe it's helpful.
Yeah, and the sidewalk is existing?
I'm sorry?
The sidewalk is existing?
There is an existing sidewalk there now. This is if that's the heart of the elm, there's an existing pathway that's coming here, an asphalt pathway that comes there. And then the edge of the existing asphalt for the parking is up on the north side of the tree that follows that hatch. So, I mean, the asphalt is coming up close to the tree and is under the tree now. I mean, you walk underneath that tree with the path.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If I may, if I could suggest perhaps on the other agenda item, it was very clear and easy for everybody to discern, myself included, when the plan set showed the proposed driveway shaded along with the trees that were coming down. I know I'm having a little trouble discerning. Perhaps we could ask the applicant to come back showing that layer on there, and it would be a little more, it'd be easier for the Shade Tree Commission, myself, staff, to take a look at that and see if there's room to wiggle. But it's very hard flipping back from page to page to see that.
Yeah. No, we just mentioned that too. It's the same overlay issue. Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay.
Could you maybe get us a few pictures of that elm tree, or have someone give us a condition of what?
I have a couple of pictures of that tree, so
give us a report of what kind of shape it's in. If it's even worth discussing, I mean, maybe it's not in great shape. I don't know.
Are you looking for an arborist report?
Yeah, if somebody can just give us a report of the condition of the tree and its health, growth rate, how its assessment, if it could withstand some.
Yeah, they have somebody on staff that can
That'd be
provide
great.
that. Okay.
Okay, we all concur. Okay, we'll see you next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Standard form or just a few questions for that tree? "517 Atterbury Road."
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Mike Rufo. I'm representing the Mr. and Mrs. Quinn and Joni and Stowe Millhouse on 517 Atterbury. The Quinns are the present owners of the house and are the parents of Joni Quinn, now Millhouse, who is going to buy the property and take down the existing home and build a new home on it. I guess I have a plan here that the one that's up now is a demolition plan. And I guess what I have here, tree-wise, is the removal of 7 trees in total, and the requirements require 8 trees replacement. If you look at the plan that I have up here, there is 6 of those trees are rather close to the house or against the house, I would say. I think there's 3 hollies and 3 spruces. The hollies are probably a little bit better shape than the spruces, but when trees are planted or bushes are planted next to the house, you know what they're not in great shape, to be perfectly honest with you. There is a 34-inch oak that is on the south side of the home that is in better shape, that is up against the patio right now, and the new proposed plan has the house being built up to about where that patio is, and we just don't think it's going to survive the construction. Again, the 6 against the home, I don't think we're sacrificing a whole lot. We do recognize the value of the larger one. So where I'm pointing here is that location of that existing oak tree that we're speaking of. What we did here, and it was really just to display that the 8 trees, they're in a line here. What I'd really like to do is walk the site with the owners and really place them. I put them here as a placeholder, and we'll tell you that the great care will be taken for their location and plantings.
Are they planning to have a large grassland behind where it's a pool? I assume they're going to retain the pool.
They are going to retain the pool, and this right now is a large grassed area, and they're hoping to keep that large grassed area. They have 3 children. I'm guessing 7, 9, and 10. So they're going to be playing ball back there for quite some time, to be honest with you. That's why I say we put them over here because that was an open spot on the plan or on the property. We will put a couple of them over there, but I recognize that I'm not going to plant 8 trees in a row of any substance right there. That there are a couple other locations that we will look at.
But your objective is to not plant them in the middle of that grass area in the back here.
The objection is not to plant them in the middle of the grass area. However, we may plant them around the back side of the pool, 1 or 2 of them back there, if we can architecturally, place them correctly and create some shade area to the tree. To the pool area. I'll point out there are a couple other larger trees on the site that we have preserved and have planned on this plan. Actually, it shows the tree protection and or erosion control precautions that'll preserve those during construction.
Okay, the immediate question that comes to my mind is, why cannot the patio be between the house and the pool?
the tree, the new home and the layout of the new home is encroaching on the existing, on that tree.
On the tree regardless?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. And I had pointed out, I did mention the patio being right there. The reason I pointed it out is it's on the existing patio that goes right up to the tree. So when we remove it, it's going to be, literally right on the root ball of the tree.
How big is that oak tree?
34 inches, sir.
You have your proposed utilities are all staying the same?
Yes, sir. There are existing gas, water, and sanitary serving the property. We're going to maintain those and just tie back into them.
Can you point out that sanitary line for me?
That's a good question. I don't know the sanitary, to be honest with you. Do you know if that's on the plan? I don't know that we have exact on that. I can tell you the gas and the water are coming in on this side of the property. And quite honestly, I didn't dig up.
Where's the existing sanitary line on this existing map?
I'm saying it's not on there. We don't have it on there. So the electric comes from the rear of the home. There's an electric line shown right across here.
You going underground with that, or?
We will wind up. I don't know that yet. There is an underground line now. I don't know if we have to upgrade it yet. But the lines back here, there's a series of different things happening back there with the electric company. There are some portions of it that are underground, some of it that are not underground. It's a good question. I don't know that we got to pull a new line in yet, and I'm sure we will.
Because you'll be coming from a pole if you do underground, right?
There's two poles. There's one here. There's one here.
Right.
Like I said, there's also some underground out near the street, and I'm not really sure. We just contacted the electric company and don't have any resolution on what's happening with that yet, to be honest with you.
Is there wiring directly above ground right there?
Pardon?
There's wire strung above ground across the property?
There is.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman? If I may have a question for the applicant.
Yep.
You may have covered it. Were you sure the existing sanitary manhole and the little truncated line coming out? You show your proposed sanitary lateral? Sheet 2, I'm sorry.
We have the location of the vent out at the street there. Is that what you're referring to? Down in here?
Well, you show sanitary manhole with a rim height and an 8-inch with an invert. And then there's a green line that comes out just past the water line before the edge of the cartway, and it's got a broken line to it right there.
Yeah, that's where the vent line is. The vent is for it. We don't know where it goes from there.
So that's the existing lateral into the manhole.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yes, to answer your question, yes.
Is that indicated in green?
Say that again?
That's indicated in green?
Indicated in green? Yes.
That green line, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the stormwater retention system that's shown on C2 is going to remain for the new house?
That's proposed, sir.
Oh, that's the proposed.
Yes.
Just worried about this 30-inch maple here.
Okay. You say you're worried about the 30?
Well, just the proposed sanitary line that you have there is,
We're proposing to reuse the existing sanitary.
okay.
We couldn't locate where it was on the property, so we didn't pretend to be honest with you. We know that the manhole's there. We know it comes out of that manhole. Where it goes, quite honestly, I don't know, but we are proposing to use the water, the gas, and the present sanitary lines.
So you haven't had it scoped or anything? I mean, you haven't had it checked to see what condition it's in or anything?
We have not.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I have another question or comment. Again, just on scale, what's noted for a 6-inch holly is only slightly smaller than what's noted for a 30-inch maple. And it makes it a little tougher, again, I'll speak just for myself, to really get a gist of how that sits on the lot. And I'd rather see them use the old lateral, because my thought is that 30-inch maple probably extends over the line they're showing for the new proposed sanitary sewer.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. The question that Jim raised is whether that system still works, or are they going to find at the last minute they've got to tear it up and put something else in.
That's our biggest problem, is a lot of times we're promised we're going to use existing, and then when it gets down to it, it's just inadequate for the new house that's going in, and they have to dig. And if they dig in the same line that the existing is, we end up with a lot of problems. So that's kind of why we try to hammer it out now.
Okay, I understand that clearly, and don't intend to harm that. Our intention is to pick up the sanitary up by the home. If that doesn't work, I think we clearly have the space. Even if I had to run my lateral around that maple, I would commit to doing that.
I'll
So
be
that we
honest
don't-
with you. From a sanitary sewer standpoint, we don't want to have that lateral near your subsurface system. Even though it'll be brand new,
You'll still have separation.
SDR 35s, pipe with good gaskets. So, I mean, if you go too far to the north of the 30-inch maple, you're going to start getting closer to your system, to your underground system. I guess my request would be if you could actually denote with a little more accuracy just what that spread of that 30-inch maple is. Because like I say, I'm looking at a 6-inch holly with an X through it, and it's about half the size of a 30-inch maple. We know what hollies look like. We know what a maple is. Because that maple may extend, a quarter across the way of that front yard, and it would make, if there was a little better scale on the existing trees, I won't speak for the commission. It would make it easier for me to decide to actually decipher what's happening on the lot.
Yeah, we sit here every meeting with this little scale and measure it. So, we have a perception of what, that real canopy is, and that's why sometimes it seems as though, we're over stressing an issue, but your drip line is critical. Again, getting back to what we spoke of earlier, is that the feeding root system is within that drip line and goes beyond. As soon as you get into that feeding root area, that's what impacts the tree, more so sometimes than the depth of its root system. The other issue is there's no tree protection, at least I don't see. There's no tree protection.
Yellow is denoting, right? Do you see the, I guess it's hashed in as right on the yellow line, and it's hashed in as well at those areas? And there's down on the front of the home on the two areas.
Okay, my apologies, I didn't
It's okay.
see that.
When you do actually constructing this thing, how far, I mean, the one tree, which is right along the thing that you're going to lose anyway, but are you going to have to go much beyond the foundation, like another, more than a couple feet? Because like this, the one tree, if you just take your pointer and just move it a little bit to the left down, and there's that's right, a little spot right there, no, straight?
Here?
No, down towards the bottom.
Right there?
Down towards the bottom of the plan. Right to the left of that. That thing, what's that? Is that a tree?
No, that's a inlet, stormwater inlet.
Okay. I guess my question is how far outside the footprint of the building you're going to have to go to, are you going to be running over any of the,
No, we don't believe so. We'll probably be about 5 foot outside of the building footprint, and don't believe there's any trees shown there. Yeah, Mike just pointed out, we're using most of the existing basement area here. We're enlarging it a little bit on the one side, but for the most part, we're using a lot of the basement area. No.
those houses were built in what, the late 40s, early 50s?
Yeah. It looks like the best we could tell was 1948. Doesn't clearly say it, but the piece of land was I guess subdivided in 48, if I remember right.
My high school girlfriend lived 4 to 525, and they
yeah.
were all the same at the time.
Yep.
But that would mean that the sewer lateral probably wouldn't be in bad condition.
Right. It would definitely be cast iron. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, to the north of the, well, I'm not sure where your arrows are, I'm sorry. Yeah.
This way is north-south.
To the north of the proposed new driveway,
Yes.
right where it bellies out, so to speak.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay.
You're very, very close to some significant spruce trees. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're maintaining the existing edge, if you see here. I don't know if I can show you both of them. I don't have it overlaid, but maintaining the existing edge of the driveway to a point.
Okay, I would suggest that Mr. Norsini's recommendation be followed through and you try to better represent the actual canopy of the trees,
Okay.
that sanitary system, clarify that that system indeed will be reused.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, along those lines, I concur. If you could, in one way or the other, determine by the next meeting where the actual sanitary sewer line is and you can televise it, we'll come out and inspect it and make sure that you can use it again, because if it's terracotta pipe that was put in 1948, I'm not so sure that would work. And my big concern is that those two trees up there really take up the majority of that front yard the canopy of a 30-inch oak, a 38-inch oak and a 38-inch maple. Properly depicted might be that whole front yard. So that might mean you might have to do some other configuration if you can't use that sanitary sewer.
Okay. Are you okay if not knowing this property, I'm pretty sure there would be room to get that sanitary up around the outside of that canopy. Are you okay if I lay the canopy on this first? If it is achievable, that I don't have the homeowner have to spend that money in scoping and everything?
I mean, either way, you have to determine if the sanitary sewer, A, that you can find it, and if you do find it, the condition of it. And I think it should be, matter of fact, I was discussing with the manager, should it be on the grading permit comments? But in reality, since it does affect, or may affect, a 30-inch maple and a 38-inch oak, it should probably be, I would recommend or request that it be a condition of the Shade Tree Commission. Determine the condition and location of that lateral, along with the proper depiction of the trees, to come back to them so they know. Because if you can't use it, they need to know that.
Yeah, no, I would concur. We face that issue on the backside of development too frequently. So it'd be good to clarify that, get it behind us.
Okay.
Especially with these tear downs and rebuilds.
Okay. Let's come back next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
40 Luella Court. And I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion.
Yes.
Where? Yes. I'm Steve Schreiner, Schreiner Tree Care. Kaz Holloway is undergoing a development project there in Wayne. From the outset, Kaz wanted to save and transplant an existing dogwood, which we're referring to as the 10-inch caliper dogwood tree. And in anticipation of moving the tree's been fertilized and irrigated throughout. The site requires some test borings, and when the test borings were done, no rock was found. That was for structural reasons. As they started to excavate the site, they encountered what we were told as glacial deposits. And I have a picture here of the rock that's there. And the reason it's a concern to us, or actually concerned to the dogwood tree, is this large rock right here. As you can see, it protrudes back underneath the dogwood tree. If you were to visit the site now, this portion has been removed, but there's still the large section that goes underneath the tree. And that high rock shelf is going to prevent us from digging an adequate root ball to preserve the tree. Before, this was even before excavation, they drilled to test the site for rock for construction, and this is even how close they were. And there was only one small boulder encountered in 8 drillings. I'm sorry.
This is.
Was that rock?
When we uncovered this rock, we brought the drill in to
I see.
how far it went under the tree.
Let's rewind that.
once they encountered the exposed rock outside of the tree's area, then they drilled in towards the tree to continue following the line of the rock.
You can see they're the borings right there.
Gotcha. To test to see how far the rock went into and underneath the canopy. So, is that the rock does go underneath the canopy of the tree, underneath the base of the tree. So. I think we're going a little bigger. We're looking at a 10-foot root ball.
I'm sorry. That fence, that's not the approximate root ball. It'd be a little bit wider than that?
That's correct. The fence is at about 8-9 feet. We're trying to go,
a little north
at
of
least that, maybe a little bit north.
So you'd be right into that, where that drill hole is?
Correct. Yeah.
So it's just this giant shelf we're looking at here.
Correct.
So it's not really worth trying to dig.
That's correct.
It's on top of a rock.
Correct.
Mr. Schreiner, I just have a question. I was out on the site, and maybe, I'm not an arborist. If I look at this in plan view, and it's a 360-degree circle, I'll say the tree is dug out 300 degrees around that tree is dug out. It's the back end that's still intact.
Correct.
So am I understanding that it's that back end where additional rock is? Because when I look at it, I see a cross-section of dirt, roots, and rock. And as sitting there, as tempting as it looks, you're saying that you cannot move that tree.
Correct. It's the back half of the tree, which has not been excavated, that's under the rock. So,
on top of the rock.
Or on top, sorry. Yeah, the tree's on top of it.
So that doesn't allow you to get the depth of root ball? Is that what this is all about?
That's correct. Yes.
How deep a root ball did you say you need? How deep would you have to go?
We would go about 4 feet on that with a 10-foot wide root plate.
And what would you get now if you attempted it?
I had no idea. I mean, it could just crumble.
I mean, what's been excavated is you do have 4 feet there, correct? What's exposed?
Just on those two exposed sides. You still have
three.
the...
I mean, it's exposed almost all the way around, except for like
Well,
a
the
tag
one side
the
that's
back.
exposed has the rock.
All right, okay.
So if it's a square, two sides are exposed that don't appear to have any difficulty, and the other two sides will be in conflict with the rock.
Steve?
Yes.
I have, this is our original boring report. I have it on, and when we did 6 borings. This was done last spring. And B2, we went as close to the tree as we could get. And that boring, if you look at B2, that went straight down 18.9 feet, didn't show anything. That's the side that you're talking about that you saw exposed. That's correct. If you look at the B3 was the only boring that showed rock. This is B3 right here, and these 4 deposits were between B3 and the tree, and B2. If you look at B3, it was the only one that showed a rock. It hit rock at 5 feet, but it punched through the rock. It was only 1.3 feet on. If I blow that up, see here. That was the only rock on those 6 borings. We did the 4 corners and the center, and we went as close to the tree because we wanted to identify if there was anything. We had no knowledge until we started digging last Wednesday, and this was the size of a truck. This particular rock that goes in under the dogwood, you can see it here. This is so. I understand. I didn't expect to hit any rock because there was no bedrock. So, and I'm the one that wanted to save the tree. Nobody asked me to save this tree. I was asked to save the beech and the 2 maples and all the other trees around the house. But this dogwood, I was trying to save, and now it just. I asked Steve to come right out as soon as we uncovered that boulder, and that's why we're here tonight.
So where are you going to plant the 2 new trees if you take this one down?
Yes.
Where?
Well, they won't be in this location because this is the garage. They're going to be planted in front of the building. If you look at, they're going to be planted right in this area here on the south side of the building. Because we have our sycamore trees and our Coosa dogwoods, the planting that you've already approved for the garage.
No, show me on this plan exactly where that tree that where the dogwood is.
Dogwood is right here.
But isn't that in the garage footprint?
Yes.
Would
We were transplanting.
Oh, transplanting. Where were we going to transplant it to? In front of the building?
Our intent was to transplant it and pick it up by crane and place it over here.
And that's where you're going to put the other 2?
I'm sorry.
That's where you're going to put the other 2?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Schreiner, I'm sorry, I'm not getting my arms around this. I apologize. As again, I'm not an arborist. So I'm looking at the picture with the big boulder.
Yeah.
So right now they're out there, they're drilling and they're breaking. There's a hydraulic breaker out there. If this goes away, you have this other exposed side. And I guess what I'm having trouble getting my arms around is the tree's alive and it's on top of rock, or we don't know how much rock. So as the contractor continues to excavate and basically makes an island out of that tree, you still can't move it?
You see the soil profile at the top of that rock?
Yes.
So if you cut down through that rock, right, the rest of that rock extends and protrudes underneath the root plate of that tree. There's just a veneer of soil.
How's that tree alive?
Because it has roots, and those roots migrate out over the soil profile. But the question isn't why that tree's alive. The question is the survivability of transplanting that tree. And if you cut too many, if you don't have enough depth and diameter of the root plate of fibrous roots and anchoring roots, the tree survivability is going to be compromised. And the boulder prevents us from getting underneath and getting the adequate soil and root system that we need.
You don't know how far. Do you know the profile of the boulder as it goes under the tree? You don't have it.
We have a guesstimation. We drill, once they
Based on
found that big
right.
rock, Steve, they went further in on top of the grass, right to the tree protection fence, and they still were striking rock. Okay. So it's our educated guess that the rock continues underneath the main stem of the plant.
So it survives by, instead of going down, it's reaching out beyond the drip line, and that's what's making it difficult to transplant.
Yes, correct.
Layman's terms.
Yeah.
It would be very hard to get an adequate root ball, being that the amount of viable soil is so thin and that it's kind of basically teetering on top of this rock outcropping. They could make it an island by going around it. The problem is that once they start to undermine that thin layer of soil, it would probably end up cracking. And if we crack the ball while trying to dig it, then everything's lost at that point. I mean, they could try to scoop it and slide it on a plate or something, possibly, but the survivability of it as it is now, depending on the height of that boulder right underneath the tree, I'm just looking at 10 years from now or 5 years from now, if what we're trying to do here, if we're going to actually have a viable tree or not, as opposed to having two new ones that are actually benefiting the landscape. It's tough. Until you put a backhoe in the ground, you're not going to know exactly what's there. They did some test bores, but from prior experience, it's going to be hard to get a viable root ball in this rocky situation. I mean, they could dig around it and try, but the survivability of that tree especially right now at this time of the year, if they went to dig it, I don't think that that's going to make it, in my opinion.
Thank you. That was for my edification because I wasn't.
Yeah.
I know more about the rock and the soil.
Yeah. I think,
Those are more my bag.
I think you're stuck between a
Yeah.
rock
A rock and a new tree.
and a couple new trees. So I think in the long run, this project would probably be better served having a couple new healthy trees planted than trying to, although it was a great idea, Cass, to try to move this tree, I don't think it's feasible at this point.
Like, for my benefit, again, I'm an engineer, electrical engineer out of all things, not an arborist. Do these kind of trees normally have like tap roots or whatever that go down deep?
This dogwoods are very surface rooted plants, so they're very touchy moving anyway. So there's not a whole lot of root mass to work with, especially with an old plant like this. It's eked its way above this rock outcropping into the topsoil, and from the profile, there's not much topsoil there. So you're not working with a whole lot of fibrous roots like would be like from a nursery stock plant. You know, it's.
So you'd be cutting a lot of that anyway. When you try to scoop it out.
You'd be cutting it, yeah, and it's going to just basically it's going to fall apart because of the rock and shale. There's nothing that's going to hold it together. Even if you were to get a good root ball and drum lace it up, it's as soon as you get under it, it's just going to fall apart. The recommendation I feel is that the tree would come out and the two new trees as proposed would go in, if we're in agreement.
I'll concur with that if that's what you want to do.
Okay, so that's what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a considerable amount of hazardous trees that were removed this past month. 36-inch willow at 20 Meadowwood Road, 125 Chew Lane, multi-liter ash with extensive decay was removed. 163 Spring Mill, a hazardous standing dead ash tree. 340 Harbison Road, two 36-inch red oak and a chestnut oak, both were split in close proximity to the residence. And Lowry's Lane, a 42-inch silver maple with significant decay in the main trunk. All these were approved by certified arborists. Is there any old business to be discussed?
Just for clarity, Howard, first guys that were in for Dean deal was in for 2 hazardous trees, and we requested replacement trees. Was that?
Right.
I'm just wondering how that falls into these. If that was a request, if they came to us with a request to remove a hazardous tree, does anything follow up from here with that, or is that?
There is no requirement in the current ordinance that a hazardous tree requires replacements. Dean suggested that the homeowners themselves wanted to plant additional tree in replacement of the one that they're taking down. I believe the new proposed ordinance does make a recommendation that if it's a hazardous tree, a tree be put back in its place. Any further business?
Mr. Chairman, I have some new business.
Okay, sir.
I'd like to provide copies of the draft shade tree ordinance for the Shade Tree Commission's review. And I'd also like to let the Shade Tree Commission know that at the August meeting of the Board of Commissioners, I will be asking them to allow us to retain a certified arborist, independent arborist, to help us along in items, whether they be dangerous trees or trees that are called in. We will, so hopefully that'll go through in August, but I did want to let the board know that, let the commission know that. And I will provide you with the copies of the draft ordinance for your review and comment.
I believe we all have copies of the draft ordinance.
I'll just make sure, I'll give it to you
just to make sure.
That these are the absolute latest and greatest. Yes, sir.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. The township manager and I did meet recently and discussed the issue of having a completely independent arborist, aside from necessarily the homeowner's arborist, be available to us for questionable issues. So we're all glad to hear that that's going to go forward with the Board of Commissioners' approval. Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes the July 2012 Shade Tree Commission. Thank you.